The people of the ancient world did not know that stars were suns, great masses of hydrogen and helium undergoing nuclear reactions. They did not know the difference between stars and planets, planets moving in orbits around our sun. They did not know that comets were dirty ice balls orbiting the sun. They did not know the moon was a lifeless mass which orbited the earth. And so many turned to biblical passages. With stars, they found references to stars moving in their courses, or falling from heaven, or stars actually being angels, or the association of a star with as a morning star, which is often used to describe the planet Venus. In the first century, Clement of Rome argued that stars moved in their courses following the sun and moon as guided by God. Philostrius thought it was false to the Catholic faith to claim that stars were not brought out of God's treasure house and hung in the sky every evening. St. Augustine felt that Saturn was a star, argued that the stars were cooled by the waters of heaven which lay above the firmament, and did not believe, as some did, that stars could be as large as the sun or older than the earth. Ælfric argued that the stars received their light from the sun and could not fall or cease to be because they were fixed in the firmament until the end of the earth. Aquinas argued that the earth was made of all of the stuff that there was and that there could not be other worlds. This 19th century flat earther argued that the stars were fixed and that if Newton's calculations were correct, then they could not fall to earth in the way that Scripture predicts. This 19th century flat earther argued that, according to the Bible, stars are small lights which are very close to Earth, maybe only a few hundred miles, and that astronomers who claimed otherwise were contradicting the literal meaning of biblical passages, arguing that if this were true, stars could not fall to Earth as the Bible predicts, or that the timeline would be different if these stars were so distant that their light requires more than 6,000 years to reach Earth. What are comets? Many referred to biblical passages which seemed to suggest that these were divine signs of some great event. Many believed that comets were thus a sign predicting the future of coming pestilence or war. These views were held by Bede in the 7th century, by Luther in the 16th century, and by Cotton Mather in the 17th century. The idea that comets were a divine sign of some great upcoming event. When Augustine and others spoke of the moon, they sometimes described it as perfect and used it to demonstrate philosophical principles. This made Galileo's life difficult when he described what he saw through his telescope, because as he described the mountains, valleys, and craters, this was not the perfect structure which theologians had described, and his views were considered heresy.